What do we want?
Climate action!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate action!
When do we want it?
Now!
So the demands, the first one is about Indigenous rights and sovereignty. It's been shown, it's been proven that Indigenous people have been taking care of this land for millennia before us, and it's been shown that it's the actions of the settler on this land that have contributed way more to the climate crisis, or fully to the climate crisis. So what we ask as a group is that Indigenous people get their land back and the sovereignty over their land back, and with that, there's been many reports that have calls to action. So the most recent one that you can look into is the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Report. There's recommendations for governments and from people. We demand that governments implement all of these and implement the UN principles for Indigenous people. With that, we demand that we all defend land, water, and life. Just like Indigenous people did it before us, we have to be taking care of what's providing for us. And we need the government to make sure these resources are taken care of. We have to make sure the governments put that in the law so that big corporations cannot take our water, our land, and our clean air. We're demanding for courage and ambition from our governments. And that means putting targets for greenhouse gas emissions high. So we want the targets to be 65% of reduction by 2030 and net zero emissions by 2040 in Canada. For that, we want a price on pollution. We want resources that are available for people and that are community owned or community governed. When we want infrastructure that allows people to live sustainable lives. That means affordable and accessible public transit, for example. We want that no workers are left behind. Canada is going to have to transition from a very high carbon economy with the fossil fuels to a low carbon economy. We need the government to stop subsidizing fossil fuels, to stop buying and building pipelines. And we need the government to help transition these workers that are otherwise going to lose their jobs, because we're not about taking other people's jobs or leaving them without a job. We need the government to help them transition with training and with financial help if needed. We have the power to calm down this climate crisis. But some people are still affected right now, and more people are going to be affected, which means we also need the government at the 3 levels that we have in Canada to have universal things like universal health care and affordable education and legal aid and resettlement services so that the people that are going to be affected are not left behind and are not ignored. Canada's not doing so well on migrant justice rights either. We need status for all. We need services that are not about deporting people. We need to stop detention, and we need to also help migrants in Canada finding decent jobs and a good quality of life. These are the words, the final words I'm going to read were written by Mia, who's from Climate Justice Toronto. And she said something really good. She said, "Finally, the future is a public good, not a private luxury. From the land and water to our housing and wages, we want a system of governance that invests in our communities, not corporations eager to put a price tag on our lives." This is our time, and this is the beginning of a climate week. If you can attend more climate events during the week, please do. If you can't, please wear these green circles as a solidarity with the young people striking for climate. Talk about it around you. Tell your parents that they need to vote and vote with your futures in mind. And come next week to Queen's Park at 11 a.m. for the biggest climate justice rally that Toronto's ever seen. Thank you so much.